We just studied the Sutram 33114, Napumsake bhave ktaha, which prescribes the affix kta following verbal root to denote in the neuter gender the sense of the verbal root as having attained to a completed state without restriction to the time frame. Now let's take the next sutram in the Ashtadhyayi order, which is the Sutram 33115, Lyutcha. Very simple sutram. All this sutram says is that in addition to the affix kta prescribed by the prior Sutram 33114, because Panini says cha. So in addition to the affix kta, the affix lyut may also be used following a verbal root under the same conditions, which is napumsake bhave, to denote in the neuter gender the sense of the verbal root as having attained to a completed state. So very simple sutram. So klibatva vishishte bhave, anuvritti of napumsake bhave, coming from the prior sutram. Question comes here is that why not just make one sutram, napumsake bhave kta lyutau? Why has Panini made two rules like that? What's the point of doing that? The point is that the anuvritti of lyut only is required in the next two rules, 33116 and 33117. If Panini had combined these two rules, 33114, 33115, and prescribed lyutau, then both would have come down into the next two rules, which have been undesirable. So that is why Siddhanta Kaumudi says here yoga vibhagaha uttarartha, which means that splitting the two rules is done for the purpose of the following rules, which means for the purpose of carrying the anuvritti of lyut only, not of kta, into the next two rules. In the affix lyut, of course, the ending takara is it by halantyam, beginning lakara is it by lashakvatadhite. What's the purpose of these? The lakara is it doesn't affect us in the classical language. It's only for the swara in the Veda. So it's only for intonation. In the classical language there is no intonation, so that is not important to us right now. What about the takara as it at the end? That is to bring in the affix kneep in the feminine gender by 4.115, which we have studied, that long musical sutram tiddhanai dvaya sajdagnai matrachtaya takthai kai kvarapaha. By this sutram 4.115, the affix neep comes in the feminine gender following a pratipadikam which ends in the affix which has takara as it. So lyut has takara as it. So in the feminine gender we get the affix neep. But now wait a minute. We just said that this affix lyut is to be used only napumsake bhave by this sutram. Then what's the point in adding an it letter which is only going to be useful in the feminine gender? The reason for that is that even though this sutram 33115 prescribes lyut only in the neuter gender, the sutram 33117, which we'll be studying shortly, that prescribes lyut not just in the neuter gender. It prescribes lyut to be used in other genders also. So at that time we will need this takara as it. For example, when you have a word like Rajadhani, Rajadhana ends in the affix lyut, and we want to get the affix neep. We don't want to get Rajadhana, we want to get Rajadhani. So at that time, this takara as it is going to be important. In this sutram, doesn't make any difference because this sutram is only prescribing lyut napumsake bhave. There's no question of getting a feminine form. Anuvritti of lyut goes down to the next two rules, and in 33117, we will need this takara as it when we derive feminine forms. Now, the derivation is very straightforward. Let's take the dhatu has again, which is hase, hasane, the bhvadikanaha. We derived the form hasitam using 33114 in the same meaning, bhave, napumsake bhave. We now derive the form hasnam. Start with the verbal root has with the pratyaha lyut by the sutram lyutcha, deriving a neuter form in the sense of bhave, which means the sense of the verbal root as having attained to a completed state. So we get has plus lyut by the sutram 33115 lyutcha. Remove these letters, the ending takara is it by halantyam, the beginning lakara is it by lashakvatadhite tasya lopaha. We get has you. Now bring in the ana adeshaha in place of you by yuvoranakao and by anekalshit sarvasya. Since ana has more than one letter, therefore it replaces the entire term you as per the Paribhasha Sutram anekalshit sarvasya 1155. So we get hasana, and hasana gets a pratipadika sanya by krit tadita samasascha 1246. It's a very, very common affix. So please make a note of this sutram. It is used extensively in the language.